Chapter 5, Vancouver. The transport drone was an older model, but it flew smoothly and felt solid. The four enclosed rotors continued to spin as it touched down on the outskirts of Vancouver and opened the door for its passengers to disembark. It wasn't easy to find a blind spot this close to a city, the remote pilot said through the speakers in the cockpit. It cost a lot of money. It cost your dad a lot of money, he said. I wouldn't plan on a return trip home the same way. Got it. Thank you, sir, Jude replied. The pilot never revealed his name, and neither did his dad. Anonymity is paramount when you fly illegally. Thanks for the walking stick, Jude, Zara said, hobbling out of the hatch and leaning on Jude's shoulder with her free hand. It really helps. It's a little less conspicuous than a stretcher, he smiled, even if it is still made from a tree branch. As long as you keep your weight off that ankle, I'm happy, Maisie interjected. Yes, doctor, Zara huffed. They gathered their packs and surveyed the vacant lot as the drone ascended and disappeared into the faint glow of the city lights against the cloudy night sky. Gravel, broken concrete, and tufts of grass and weeds eventually gave way to a residential street, and beyond that, seemingly endless rows of dull, gray, angular structures. Some were independent, others seemed to be connected, and 2 blocks away there looked to be a multi-level building made of several dozen of interconnected components. Are those houses? Zara asked. Cubes, Jude said. Dad told me about them, but I didn't realize there were so many. Do you mean these are the family comfort units we learned about in history class? They don't look anything like the pictures we saw. They're so small and dirty. Everything looks dirty to you, Jude joked, nudging Maisie's shoulder. The government had to do something. That's part of what sparked the transition. Adams figured if 80% of people are unemployed, you'd better find a place for them to live and feed them, or they could tear themselves and everyone else to pieces. It's hard to argue. Hungry, homeless people are very dangerous. Or you could go live in the mountains, Maisie said. That works if your leader is an engineering genius like Rod Kane, Zara quipped. I'm not so sure it was the best idea for some of the other sacks. Dad said the cubes weren't pretty, but they were functional. They made use of the massive plastic waste and recycled it into these 10 by 10 by 10 meter cubes with solar panels, plastic windows, and standard plumbing and wiring that could be easily connected to other cubes or regular power and water sources. All of them are gray, and all of them are the same size. That's one way to avoid neighborhood jealousy, Jude explained. Maisie looked at him with a questioning look. What? Dad and I had lots of time to talk out in the fields. You don't learn everything in school. Here are some insights. Rod Kane saves the day. Jude, Maisie, and Zara were able to make it from the middle of nowhere in the woods to Vancouver because he arranged a transport drone to come pick them up. And there's more details in the story that I don't want to give away, but he's always prepared. He's always anticipating the next challenge, and that has come in handy time after time. When they get to Vancouver, the first thing they notice is a lot of cubes. Now, the government in New America calls these family comfort units. They were one of the solutions to the massive economic crisis. You know, when people have no jobs, they have no money. And they have no money, then they're hungry and they're homeless. And that leads to the unraveling of society. So in an effort to combat that as quickly as possible, the Adams computer system that we will, the AI that advises the government, came up with this solution and came up with a design that would be quick and inexpensive to produce. Square units are uniform, and they could be manufactured quickly and shipped easily. And if they contain standard connections for electrical and water, you could put them just about anywhere, and you wouldn't have to worry about codes. You could get a waiver for codes because all those connections are standardized. They're not pretty, and the neighborhoods don't look very appealing, for sure. But when you have a whole population of people who have already lost their homes, who are trying to get off the street, that might almost seem like a luxury. The program for family comfort units, or cubes, was basically if you are a homeless family, you would be assigned a cube, and it would be placed in a neighborhood as close as they could to where you're from. You would obviously not own the land, not own the cube, but you would have shelter. Um, and something to kind of think about, if that's a solution to homelessness, how would you feel about that? Do you think that, creating actual portable, or at least easily movable housing units to help people take shelter and get off the streets, is that a good idea? I mean, it doesn't make for very appealing neighborhoods, but it certainly is better than tent cities. Um, as a solution, you have to kind of think, is it good or is it not? How would you feel about living in one? Um, Tiny homes are kind of a fad right now. A lot of people get into just creating their own unique spaces, and I think that's one of the appeals of tiny homes, is because even though they're small, they make very good use of space, but they're also, you can design them the way you want. The one thing about the cubes, you really can't. They're completely standardized. Now, obviously, you can decorate the inside, and I imagine some people would try to decorate the outside, but there's only so much you could do with a big plastic cube. So think about that. Think about, could you live in one? Think about if that's a viable solution to massive homelessness. And one last thing to think about is, if you've ever been on a long camping trip and it rained, especially if it rained, and you got wet and cold and hungry and got tired of opening cans or trying to eat something over a fire, think about what it would feel like to come home after a long, maybe disappointing camping trip and just take a long hot shower and get a nice hot meal, because that's exactly what Jude, Maisie, and Zara were able to do, and they felt much better. And it's a good thing, because they needed the reprieve, because next they've got to try and figure out what happened to Callum. And now that they're in Vancouver, they're going to try and figure that out.